Hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to my overview of Outcast, A New Beginning. So, straight up the bat, I am reviewing this, however, it is a very expensive game and I review against a price point. As in, I would want to put 20 hours into this, and at the point of recording, I've only put 5 hours in. The embargo is beating down the door coming at me, so I just want to record this now, get some thoughts out and let people know. So a little bit of a unique overview, a bit more longer than usual. Straight out the gate, I'll tell you this, I'm loving this game. I'm loving every second that I spend with it. I am immersed in a way that AAA games seem to not understand. It's not all about real-time ray tracing and bloody how many pores on the skin and micro expressions and hyper mocap or anything like that. There is something to be said about a wholesomeness to world design mixed with actually good writing from interpersonal character engagements and great voice acting to back it up. That's where the money went in this, and you can bloody tell. It is still a AA Eurojank type game, but to be honest, I'm happy with that. The combat's good enough. A lot of the mechanics are good enough, but they feel fine. They feel great. But I do wonder straight away, again, I review in a bloody bubble. I don't talk to anyone in back channels through Discord or any of that sort of crap, so I don't really know how this is going to be well received outside of my own head. But I can't help but wonder if people are going to go, AA, Eurojank, asking for a lot of money, more than AAA. It's asking for $100 and AAA is normally $90 Australian for reference. And I think the low-hanging fruit is to just say, nah, it's an overpriced AA game. And I will buck that. I think this is wonderful. I think it needs to find its audience, which is people like me, older gamers who love Farscape, Stargate, Star Trek The Next Generation, because this game feels like that. You are very much a John Crichton, but a bit more deadpan and a bit less shouty, kind of cheeky protagonist. And he is funny. He is funny and understated with the one-liners, and it's not getting old. Interacting with all these cool little villages, you're helping save them as they be invaded by like a sort of boogeyman force that's bombed out parts of their cities and disconnected their travel networks. So the 100-foot view is you're just trying to reconnect the people and save them, right? But the biomes are huge and diverse. It is not caricature, but it is obviously extreme that this village produces this. You know, the first village is sort of a fruit village and it has an entire social hierarchy built around the lower class being at the very top of the trees, picking the fruit. And if you work your way up the class caste system, you end up being able to live and work on the ground. You know, it's very cool. It's very interesting. And they're all interconnected. There's no side quests per se. There are things like go clear an outpost or do a parkour challenge, that sort of crap, to get collectibles. But as far as side quests go, they all feed into a main quest. Every village has a whole bunch of quests going on, and more often than not, the answer to the quest in village A, like, oh, I don't know, we found an egg buried at the bottom of a lake, this giant egg, and we're trying to help hatch it in the first village. But in order to do that, it's got parasites on it and they can only be picked off by the bloody horse creatures on this planet. So I need to go reconnect with the tribe that breeds horses and get some sort of arrangement with them so they bring them across. But their whole travel routes are being terrorized by like sandworm monsters that are being caused by mining operations by the invaders, and then you got to kick on to that. Also, the only reason I knew that those things would deal with the parasites in such a way was because I had to consult with the academia village and talk to their elder there. So I had to reconnect them and bring him over, and he gave us insight and knowledge. Are you getting sort of what I'm getting at? As wonderful as the side quests of Witcher 3 were, like, that's the talking point, that's what everyone agrees, and I'm not bucking it, right? The Bloody Baron or whatever it was really quite cool, but it's still self-contained and separate and has not really a lot to do with the main story. Not terribly. As I say that and I remember that particular mission, I understand. But my point is, if people will understand what I'm getting at, is that side quests are just that. They're side hustles. They're non-essential. You can ignore them. You can mainline the story. That's not how this works. All of the missions are interconnected, and it's really interesting. And it just builds immersion as you learn the customs of people, all their different tribes. I'm ranting and waffling on about this because it's a big deal. I think it's really, really good. But again, the combat is so-so. The performance is wild. I have an obnoxiously powerful computer with a 40 series and a giant CPU And yet when I boot this bloody game up, it screams, right? I've had some hitching in the worst time possible. It seems to have something to do with enemies or something, because I'll be in combat and I'll get sharp hitches. However, when I'm traveling through the world, and locomotion in this is like being in an F1, it's Zelda on crack. You have jetpacks and gliders and you are supposed to zip along 1,000,000 miles an hour. It runs smooth as butter. And moving from one biome to the other and seeing dudes working the reeds and going to a more of a farming plantation place. And it's really, really wonderful. And it's wonderful to see this in a AA space. So it's got its issues, for sure. But I will say this, and I'll say it clear, I think it's worth the money. And I think it's worth encouraging this sort of thing in industry. AA plus, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's not trying to be a AAA game. It's not trying to push the envelope for graphics. Yes, it's asking for more money, but instead it's pushing in more of a direction of making an interesting open world with cool narrative and quest design. It's not revolutionary in the convention that we've kind of been taught to agree to, which is a game's only worth AAA price if it's pushing graphics or it's made by a big AAA studio. And what have we seen happen in the AAA industry? They're all getting comfortable and resting on their laurels and hoping that beautiful graphics do all the heavy lifting for them. And not only is gameplay stagnating, it's regressing. And so what if we had an alternate timeline where instead of jumping to the next bracket for AA games and making them into AAA graphical things, we didn't worry about the graphics and we actually encouraged making more interesting open worlds and better writing and better quest cohesion and just generally a more fun experience. If you can reconcile the fact that there might actually be another option that isn't AAA money for AAA graphics. It's just a thought. I could be wrong. I could be alone on this. I really do feel like I sit in the demographic that this game's aimed at, and I know who that is. It's all the blokes that grew up watching Farscape and Stargate that are probably willing to throw fuck you money at a game like this because it ticks the box that makes them happy. And they probably only play one game every 3 to 6 months anyway. So who cares if it's more expensive? It's catering to its audience in the correct direction, and I think it should be applauded. Anyway, it's food for thought, but I know personally, I would rather buy 5 more of these games with this sort of design principle before I bought another AAA game that's gotten comfortable with the money that we just feed them. Food for thought, fantastic game, one of the best ones I've played this year so far, and I'm having an absolute blast. Jank and performance issues and everything included. Stand by for the review in the following days. Team might just leave it there for the time being. I'll catch you guys on the next one.